apace, you fiery-footed steeds, towards Phoebus's lodging. Such a wagoner as Phaeton would whip you to the west and bring in cloudy night immediately. Spread thy close curtain, love-performing night, that runaway's eyes may wink, and Romeo leap to these arms, untalked of and unseen. Lovers can see to do their amorous rites by their own beauties, or, if love be blind, it best agrees with night. Come, gentle night, come, loving black-browed night. Give me my Romeo, and when he shall die, take him and cut him into little stars, that he will make the face of heaven so fine that all the world will be in love with night and pay no worship to the garish sun. I've done them all, but it all started with that one. I begin my preparation for every role with that speech. An incantation to Thespis, if you will. That is my prayer. We stage folk have little customs, traditions, and superstitions. And for over 50 years, that has been one of mine. My Juliet was a success. I would almost say great success. But how can a 17-year-old have wisdom enough for a great anything other than a great, I don't know, heaving bosoms? Oh, I have bought the mansion of a love, and yet not possessed it. And though I am sold, not yet enjoyed. So tedious is this day, as is the night before some festival to an impatient child who hath new robes and may not wear them. So, how do you want to do this? Are you going to ask me questions? Or what? What is this for again?
It's a documentary.
Yes, a documentary. I'm being documentaried. I am a document.
It's a series of films about actors.
At a certain age.
All ages, actually. Working actors.
It's a film about an endangered species, then. Please tell me this isn't one of those insufferable student films.
No, it's a privately funded film that will be...
We're rolling?
Yes.
Because I don't do student films. It's the one thing I won't do. Breaks my heart to say it. We're started? Rolling?
Yes.
I don't wish to be rude, but I have precisely 45 minutes before I have to be uptown. You've caught me in the middle.
Well, it's actually perfect for the film, to see your preparation, your process. I mean, do you mind us shooting now?
Imagination, preparation, technique. Full stop. Process has been confused with preparation. I don't have a process whereby I prepare. I just do my job. I prepare for what I must accomplish. And any way that I can accomplish that is what is necessary. Technique is not a part of your toolkit as an actor. It is your toolkit. Technique is everything. Imagination is the fuel. There's a danger in all of this process nonsense. This whole over self-importance of my process. That's just nonsense. Imagination. Let me put it to you this way. Actors are skilled laborers. No, they really are. Actors work extremely hard at their jobs and labor. And acting is a very, very specific skill. I realized fairly early on that I could make a living from acting. Once I realized that I didn't have to be a star, I knew I could make a go of it. I'm a middle-class actor. That silent majority. I'm proud of it.
What does being a middle-class actor mean?
That on big film projects, I do the small roles. But because I do those big-name projects, I'm likely to get cast in large or leading stage roles all over the country. I'm completely unrecognizable, but the films I do are not. That gives me the foot in for the larger stage parts. I get to travel, to be absolutely anonymous and unrecognized, to do all sorts of parts, and to be paid enough to live on. That's the way the industry is today. Wasn't always like that. But one has to adapt. As G.B. wrote, quote, "People are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. I don't believe in circumstances. The people who get on in this world are the people who get up and look for the circumstances they want. And if they can't find them, make them."
That's a great quote. Who's GB?
George Bernard Shaw, darling. I did a production of his Mrs. Warren's Profession back in 1975. Played Vivi, who spoke those lines. And then revisited the play again in 1994, playing Kitty, Mrs. Warren. Shaw wrote the play, quote, "to draw attention to the truth that prostitution is caused not by female depravity and male licentiousness, but simply by underpaying, undervaluing, and overworking women so shamefully that the poorest of them are forced to resort to prostitution to keep body and soul together." End quote. Prostitutes and actors. That's why we do what we do. Do you think that I was brought up like you, able to pick and choose my own way of life? Do you think I did what I did because I liked it? Or because I thought it right? And wouldn't have rather gone to college and been a lady if I had had the chance? I am like you. I must have work and must make more money than I spend. But my work is not your work, and my way is not your way. Strong stuff. Love the play. Did it twice. And right after that, I went into a production of Ibsen's The Wild Duck. And I swear to God, this is true. It was a dinner theater production of The Duck in Indiana. I played Berta. Now, I love Ibsen and all, but this was just wrong. Indiana, Ibsen, The Wild Duck, dinner theater, and they served duck. The food was such as hath been belched on by infected lungs. The artistic director thought it would be an amusing pairing. Nobody got it. The audience left in droves. Hits and misses, that's all it is. From Kitty Warren on a legit stage, great success by the way, to The Duck, dinner theater, and Berta Sorby. Priceless. Remind you not to get too hot on yourself.
So you've mentioned Shaw and Ibsen and Shakespeare.
Yes, oh yes. I've done them all. Shaw, Shakespeare, Ibsen, Chekhov, though not a big fan of the Chekhov, Williams, Miller, Strindberg, Miss Julie. Oh, I would like to see the whole of your sex swimming like that in a sea of blood. I think I could drink from your skull, bathe my feet in your broken breast, and eat your heart roasted whole. You think I'm weak. You think that I love you, that my womb yearned for your seed, and that I want to carry your offspring and nourish it under my heart. You think I want to carry your child and take your name. By the way, what is your name? Oh, however far you run away, there will always be memories in the baggage car. And remorse. And guilt.
Wow.
It's all in there.
So how long have you been working?
50 years.
That's impressive. Pretty rare.
Not as rare as you might think.
A lot of the actors I interviewed said that there were times, sometimes years, of dry spells. Did you ever have one of those?
What other actors have you interviewed? No, wait, don't tell me. Just listen to me. I barreled right ahead. This is your film, and I am the subject, right? You tell me how you want this to go.
No, this has been great so far. My idea was to prepare a list of questions, the same questions for each actor. I thought it would be a great idea to showcase or spotlight the differences and similarities of actors from all levels of success and walks of life.
It's a good idea. Go with it. A group of people doing exactly the same thing but going about it from completely different directions.
That's part of why I think it's so fascinating. I can't think of many other fields like that.
No, you're right. There aren't any. People have been looking for the secret to acting for centuries. This is why actors are on the outside. Why actors are often ostracized from society in a certain way. It's also why great actors become idols, and why actors really are dangerous.
Dangerous?
Oh, yes.
How so?
Art is dangerous. It's truth. A visionary truth. That's dangerous. And true artists channel that truth.
But not all artists could be called true artists, could they?
Aha! No, they are not. Not all creatives are artists. And vice versa, I think. But the function of art is dangerous. It's anarchy.
Anarchy?
The absence of order. Absolute freedom of the individual. This is why, as your film will show, you can interview a whole range of actors, ask them about their process, and each actor will tell you something completely different. Absolute freedom of the individual. This is also why training is more important than education when it comes to acting.
What's the distinction?
Education is a structured form of order. the opposite of anarchy. Training is the practical application, giving you tools that you can use in whatever way works for you to get the job done.
Would you consider yourself an artist?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'd like to think of myself as an artist. I don't know. I doubt that the great artists throughout history spent much time wondering if they were artists or not. They were too busy actually being artists.
So this role you're doing now,
I rarely speak about the roles that I'm currently doing.
why is that?
I find that speaking too much about them while I'm actually doing them subtly alters my approach. Not helpful. I can say, though, that this current role is somewhat unique for me. In the past, I have tended to play formidable types. Those formidable females. Or, as a former lover of mine always used to refer to them as, the grand bitches. But this new role is different. Every role is different, obviously. But I've never played someone quite like this before. I might not have taken this job, but, well, you take the work that is offered you. That's the secret of longevity in this business. You take the work that is offered you. Full stop. When would you have found the ground of studied excellence without the beauty of a woman's face? For where is any author in the world teaches such beauty as a woman's eye?
So how long's the run?
Just through the weekend. Closes on Sunday.
So, what were some of your favorite roles?
What?
Favorite roles?
Favorite role? Really? Favorite roles? Over the course of 50 years? Well, that's ambitious, isn't it? Juliet, Rosalind, Hedda, Cleopatra, Mrs. Warren, Lady Teazle, Lady Macbeth, the First Lady, and the freaking Virgin Mary. There you go. Some favorites. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts. Think not I love him, though I ask for him. 'Tis but a peevish boy. Yet he talks well. But what care I for words? Yet words do well when he that speaks them pleases those that hear. It is a pretty youth. Not very pretty. But sure he's proud, and yet his pride becomes him. He'll make a proper man. The best thing in him is his complexion, and faster than his tongue did make offense, his eye did heal it up. He is not very tall, yet for his years he's tall. His leg is but so, and yet 'tis well. There was a pretty redness in his lip, a little riper and more lusty red than that mixed in his cheek. 'Twas just the difference between the constant red and mingled damask. There be some women, Sylvius, had they marked him in parcels as I did, would have gone near to fall in love with him. But for my part, I love him not, nor hate him not, and yet I have more cause to hate him than to love him. But what had he to do to chide at me? He said mine eyes were black, and my hair black. And now I am remembered, scorned at me. I marveled why I answered not again. But that's all one. Omittance is no quittance. I'll write to him a very taunting letter, and thou shalt bear it. Wilt thou, Sylvius? Ha ha! Still got it. I love my saucy Phoebe. Oh, and my Sylvius. He was the most handsomest, dorkiest, most adorable guy. You just sit there with this big, wide grin on his face. He was brilliant. We had great chemistry and a great passionate affair for a while. He passed away just a couple of years ago. He was a great actor. It's funny, or strange, I guess, the way the roles change as we get older. I used to do the saucy, full of spunk roles when I was young. Then, my 30s and my 40s. Now that was my grand bitches era. Hecuba, Hedda, Volumnia, Paulina. What studied torments, tyrant, hast for me? What wheels? Racks? Fires? What flaying? Boiling? In leads or oils? What old or newer torture must I receive, whose every word deserves to taste of thy most worst? Thy tyranny, together working with thy jealousy, fancies too weak for boys, too green and idle for girls of 9. Oh, think what they have done, and then run mad, indeed stark mad, for all thy bygone fooleries were but spices of it. Classical women seem to lose their sense of humor as they age. That's unfortunate. I still have my sense of humor. At least I think I do. Or, as Hedda said, everything I touch seems destined to turn into something mean and farcical. Time moves on. The roles get older. Even when the actresses don't seem to age at all. She had a great success as Portia, famous for it, and she did it for years and years, well into the time when she was far too old to be playing it. When she finally stopped accepting offers to play the role, she famously said, No amount of skill on the part of the actress can make up for the loss of youth. Time moves on.
How can you keep all of those speeches in your head just like that?
You live with them. They become part of you. Look around. All these things. I keep one thing from every role I play, not just as a keepsake, but as a memento, a reminder to keep all of these characters, these people alive, living in me. They're part of me.
Some company you keep.
Indeed.
Are there any roles you wanted to play but never had the chance to?
Not many. I would like to do John Gabriel Borkman. A bit too old for that now, I think. But maybe I could still pull it off. I don't think too much about what I didn't or couldn't play. I just played whatever came my way. You take the roles that are offered. Look, I'm an actor. I work. I love to work. I love to act. It's both what I do and who I am. I realize these are stock responses, but that doesn't make them any less true. Now you're going to ask me if I've ever been on Broadway. The answer to that is no. Then you're going to ask if I'd ever like to be on Broadway at some point. The answer to that is, well, obviously it would be enormously gratifying, but that seems pretty unlikely at this point. The addendum to that is that I have no pressing need to be on Broadway because I don't see it as the mark of my success. I have been a leading role actress for 50 years. I have performed in 49 of the 50 U.S. states. In that time, traveled to 28 different countries, worked with some extraordinary actors and directors, and some real stinkos. I have enough money in the bank to cover my rent for 18 months. I've paid for my pre-need burial. I have no children, no spouse, and I have no credit card debt. Well, beyond a couple of $100 here and there. I've survived in this business. I'm proud of that.
49
Yes.
of the 50 states. What's the
Guess.
Wyoming?
The Man Who Came to Dinner, open air theater, fabulous.
I don't know. Iowa?
Iowa? Really? Iowa? The Matchmaker, Dolly Levi, complete success.
What
South Dakota. South Dakota. Never been there. Wanted to. Never been.
How has the industry changed over the time that you've been working?
It's fashionable today for actresses to decry the state of the industry, to say there are not enough roles for women, especially women of a certain age. To say that we need more female playwrights and directors and producers and artistic directors and the like. All of that is true, but it is also true that it is much better now than it has ever been in the past. Look at the history. It was a built-in bias from women not even being allowed to be on the stage 400 years ago, to women being some of the most powerful players in the business today. There are many more on-camera opportunities than ever. I mean, Just look at what you're doing. It used to just be limited to film and network TV. That has exploded open with online media. Granted, most of it is pretty much crap at this early point, but it is getting better. Things do and will continue to gallop apace. Now, not all of us can keep up with these changes. Not all of us are suited to these new media. Not all of us want to be. But you survive.
Where do you see things going?
More and more young people are going to school to get an education in acting. That's bullshit. We've become such a university-oriented society that young people think if they study a subject and graduate from a program, they're entitled to a job. That might be true for a lot of fields, but it isn't, will never, should never be true for acting.
So what advice would you give to somebody who's trying to get into the field?
Don't you have any questions other than the obvious? I mean, forgive me. I mean no offense. But you've just been asking me the questions that I have been asked for 50 years. Does anybody really care about which roles are my favorite, or about my current role, or how I think the industry has changed, or about my process? I mean, come on. Change it up. Take a risk. God's sake. You mustn't be offended by my little outbursts. I've grown less patient as I've gotten older. Forgive me. I shouldn't have snapped. It's just these questions. These same questions. What do you really want to know?
Who are you? And why are you who you are?
Over the years, I've begun to see that the questions I get asked in interviews are less about who I am and more about how I got to be where I am. I'm not a guidebook. People seem to think that if they can understand how another person made it, then they can make it too. There's no sure path to success. There is no guarantee. I work with young actors all the time. Private coaching. I see so many young actors study so hard, try so hard, they break down in tears because they feel and want so much. Despite all of the warnings and the discouragements, there is still the need to pursue this path. We live in an age where we think that if we understand something, then we can do it. That if someone tells us how we can grow, we'll just magically grow by virtue of the fact that we understand the theory of growth. There's no answer, no magic bullet, no automatic growth. You go into this business only knowing you must. Beyond that, you get better, try harder, fail louder, stick with it out of stubbornness more than anything else, or you don't. I went to a memorial for an actor friend who recently passed. She was a towering talent, just a few years older than me. There was a time when everyone knew her name. She was the toast of every town that she was in. The kind of actress that always seemed to be working and growing. There were precisely 17 people at her memorial. 17. Memorial. When I'm gone, everything I am goes with me, and within 2 generations I'll be forgotten. That's the way it is, the way it's supposed to be. Don't live for a legacy. Live for your life. And do what you must. Take inspiration where you can get it. And honor that spirit. She's my inspiration. Has been for most of my career. But now she is gone, and my idolatrous fancy must sanctify her relics. Oh, that I were a fool. I am ambitious for a motley coat. Give me a couple of seconds and we'll walk out together. So what are your plans for this film?
Well, I just have a couple more interviews to do, and then I'll go into editing.
How many people have you interviewed?
5 so far.
Not too many. So you're shooting for 7, then?
Around 7. I might not use all the footage.
Obviously not. But at least you'll have plenty of options.
I hope so.
Do I have a cigarette burning out there?
Yes. Do you want it?
No, I'll be out in a minute. Just about ready. Doesn't take too long to get into this costume. I did Cleopatra in Chicago a few years ago, and it took over an hour and 3 dressers just to get into that costume. The makeup, the jewelry, the wig. Oh God, that wig. What time is it?
9:30.
An early matinee. Reminds me of summer stock. What do you think? Wait. Now, what do you think? I believe fluffy's the word you're looking for. Okay, let's go. Let's go then. Hold these a minute. I gotta fix the police lock. Of course, it's not ideal.
What is it?
Having to do your makeup at home. They didn't have the dressing room space for me. But that's all right, though. It's not a long run. Just this way.
Thanks for spending time with us today.
Oh, not at all. I hope that your film turns out to be exactly the way you want it to be.
Thanks. Which way are you headed?
I'm going to cross here and go to 6.
You grab a cab?
Yes, going to grab a cab. Get a cab there. We are a strange bunch, aren't we? No, we are. I think that's why so many people want to see actors interviewed, to see if they're really understandable in any way. I mean, most people wonder, what is it with these actor types? Are they really as different as everyone else? Or are they the same? Fact is, we are different. And always have been.
Excuse me, may we get a picture with you?
In history, actors were always different. You know, we have a fascination with great actors in this country, well, probably around the world, and precisely because they are different.
Actors are different.
They must be.
You're gonna eat it?
Hey, can we get a picture with you?
No. Okay.
You want to grab a cab here?
Okay, yes. Actually, that would be good. Don't
What time is it?
don't try to humanize us. We don't need it. We are precisely what we are. Okay. Hang on. Let's see. Yeah, no, I'll get it. Wait. Okay. Allow some mystery.
She's a most triumphant lady, if report be square to her. I will tell you, the barge she sat in, like a burnished throne, burned on the water. The oars were silver, which to the tune of flutes kept stroke, and made the water which they beat to follow faster, as amorous of their strokes. For her own person it beggared all description. She did lie in her pavilion, cloth of gold, of tissue, or picturing that Venus where we see the fancy outwork nature. On each side her stood pretty dimpled boys, like smiling cupids, with divers coloured fans, whose wind did seem to glow the delicate cheeks which they did cool, and what they undid did. I saw her once hop 40 paces through the public street, and having lost her breath, she spoke and panted that she did make defect perfection, and breathless power breathe forth. Age cannot wither her, nor custom stale her infinite variety. Other women cloy the appetites they feed, but she makes hungry where most she satisfies. For vilest things become themselves in her.